ready to discuss some more information in reference to Volume 3 of the Adventures of Susan MeeLing, Scuba Diver Extraordinaire, chapters 10 through 20, written by Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, a few other names. So, before I go into the actual other stuff, I do want to point out the fact that, well, if I didn't have the training that I had, anybody who knows anything about what occurs with the slightest amount of reduction in an oxygen tank or nitrox tank, and what I was using, when surfacing, and the expansion from a depth of where I was in the Matthias Abyss, knows that it took quite a bit to not allow the scuba tank to explode, and thus cause all of the other scuba tanks to explode. Not forgetting that when descending, it took a lot to ensure that the tank itself did not crush at the depth level that I went to, because it was a nitrox tank which was rated only for a certain compression level. Definitely not to the level which I went to. But because I know how I did what I needed to do to ensure that not only did the nitrox tank not crush, but also that 3-foot hose did not crush. Same thing with the O-rings, making sure those didn't pop off, or any of the other aspects of the scuba tank, to make sure that nothing was a problem. Because, I mean, I did use the same gear when I dropped down for the second dive. Also, anybody who understands that sort of stuff also understands that the normal human body can only take so much pressure before bones start collapsing and crushing, along with the muscles and the like. Not forgetting the fact that, lungs have air, and by technicalities, there is that to take into consideration. And then the individual oxygen bubbles through, not bubbles as in air embolisms, but in the veins, what that could do. So, not forgetting also the coldness. The deeper you descend into the ocean, you could be in the warmest waters ever. I mean, realistically, the Bermuda Triangle has extremely warm waters. However, the deeper you descend, the colder it gets. And so I didn't freeze, obviously. The average person would. And then not forgetting the animals and the mer people in the vicinity would not allow just anybody to surface. However, going into the imagery, here is 3 pictures that I took on the way out. Now, this is, I don't know if you can see that little white dot. That's not an ice cap. I'll leave it at that. And see that little dot? Right there a little bit better, maybe. Oh no, I can't. So there's this little white dot right there. It's just a little something special. I'll leave it at that. So, obviously, there are certain aspects as to another reason as to why I was able to do certain things in the Montana vortex that probably, I guess, I'm the only one who could do. But in reference to those who have marine biology and submarine studies would know that this right here, number one, that's the date, 2009, August the 7th. I guess maybe there was an issue when it came to that computer technology went down in the abyss. So this is a crevice of the ocean. Those are bioluminescent vitamins. I'll leave it at that. And so it is a chemical compound which actually can be utilized for certain aspects. And so I decided to give that the name of geothermal bioluminescent mineral deposits, or for an acronym, GBLMD, for a more simplistic format. And those illuminating aspects of the organic compounds, for those who understand gardening, are able to understand that when certain areas are harvested, so for example, if you only garden one type of plant in one specific vicinity, the nutrients for the first crop will be phenomenal. The second year will still be good. Third year, you might notice a little bit of a decline, and you have to start adding certain nutrients to the soil because essentially the same nutrients are being stripped out of the same region. Such is not the case for this vicinity. But you cannot, how do I put it? The collection measures are not as simple as drilling. Now, the crevice that you see in, again, that particular picture, that is partially due to certain activities in the nearby vicinity. And, but you can also see, and I'll point this out, you can see certain crevices that, well, that would be where my hand was. When pushing myself upward. And then that actually is another aquatic animal in that vicinity. I'll just leave that to when needing to discuss with certain individuals. But those particular geothermal bioluminescent mineral deposits are able to assist with certain aspects, but I do not deny the fact that similarly to when in Boca Raton and swimming over the underwater volcanoes, that I had obviously been exposed to the various chemical elements of, but in an organic fashion. Now, I'm going to show you another picture. Now, while you cannot necessarily tell that I'm at the bottom of the ocean, those who have done marine biology research understand that the deeper you are in the ocean, the more bioluminescence is natural for each of the individual animals. So when you take a look at something like the anglerfish, where there is a singular bioluminescent, I know the word is not dangly thing, but dangly thing, the little light, that is a deep area of the ocean, yes. The further you descend into deeper depths of the ocean, the more likely you are to find far more bioluminescence. So that way, not only can the other animals of that same species recognize one another, but they can also, at the same time, be able to recognize their prey if they are hunters in certain regards, or if various animalistic behaviors, of course. So with such, and before I continue, the last image in reference to the geothermal lumina, yeah, that is not with a flash. Let me clarify. There is no flash when I took that picture. So that luminescence right there, yeah, that is without a flash. That is just the camera. So in reference to these particular fish, as you can see all these little dots and stuff like that, they were swimming around. As I gave them the name, the Scumbros septismal maglarina. Those have clear exteriors, and though the images of these fish do seem to appear small because they're pictures, think of like your rear view mirrors on the side of your car, much closer than they appear to be. Each one is over 7 inches long in length and about 3 inches in height. And the zoom was not on for any of those pictures. Those particular fish are plentiful in the region, as you can see in the pictures. And I named them Scumbros septismal maglarina because of the similarities for the mackerel fish. But you could also see the bioluminescence naturally glowing with each of those fish, and again at the depths for the bioluminescence being a natural aspect. And I did use a flashlight for one picture, and I will show you which one because you'll kind of be able to see that one because of that particular brightness right there. But the rest of the images did not have, and that was an external, not the one that was a part of that particular underwater camera system that I had purchased off of eBay. And yes, similarly to many other types of fish, there is a lot of health benefits for that. The equivalent of the multivitamins that are in those particular fish would be the equivalent of being able to take an entire bottle that you could purchase from like Sam's or Costco of a multivitamin in one particular fish. So a more simple name instead of the Scumbros septismally maglarina, I call them the 7 wonders fish because of the vitamin content that is within them. Now, I'm going to show you the next picture, which you can see many more of them, and you can see with them being 7 inches long for the average length in comparison to that particular fish, such a cutie patootie, the Cypherina luminescent sawtooth razorback. And let me put up the picture a little bit further so you can see. So as you can see, there are those saw-like marks, and hence the sawtooth razorback. Now, you can tell that the 7 wonders fish are not particularly threatened by that particular fish. But the Safrina luminescent sawtoothed razorback is an extremely aggressive fish. Thankfully, it did not find me to be a threat. That's a good thing. But that particular baby, it's a young one, is 42 feet long, well over 504 inches long, and 168 meters in length. It is about a year old in comparison to the baby that I saw further off, but because I was far more interested in the one that I could fit into the camera view, that particular short name, sawtooth razorback, is extremely aggressive, extremely, and its mommy was nearby. But you can see the bioluminescence mainly in the tail region of that fish. And the reason why the sawtooth razorback has that in the tail end is actually, as those who understand, a deceptive measure, because it's an extremely quick moving fish. So the second a fish gets within a close proximity of that it would feel would be prey, would essentially be able to turn around real quick and slice it up with the razorback without any hesitation or problem because of the dorsal fin. So you can take the comparison of those Seven Wonders fish to give a kind of a, what is it called, a scale, pun intended, measurement. And when in a school of fish for the sawtoothed razorback, they tend to have a radio frequency in certain regards that they are able to communicate with one another with. So if it is a larger fish, and so again with the tail fin being the illuminated part instead of the front, the aspects of the fish that would be in the vicinity that would be related to the sawtoothed razorback would essentially, if the prey did not get close enough to the tail to actually trigger that sawtooth razorback to turn around and strike in every which way, the school of fish with it would essentially use their dorsal fins to slice open the prey, and then everybody would go on a feeding frenzy. You could essentially think of, what is it called? Piranhas and how they feed. But another more common name would be the shiny slender, because it's shiny and it's very thin in comparison. Now, the next fish that I took a picture of while I was swimming around the USS or USNS Vandenberg is called the Catechia spotted Donice Plexippus iridescent. And as a secondary example, you can see, so here's the fish. There is the tail end that is illuminated similarly to the anglerfish, but backwards. And so that particular little feather type of look is similar to fishing lures, I guess would be a close example equivalent of. And that particular image that I took right here, and let me pull it up a little bit closer for you. So you can see literally through the fish. It's very translucent, but it is also bioluminescent, and so you can see the actual spine and the brightness of, but it was about 100 feet away, or 100 meters depending, because of the clarity of the ocean. But that particular fish was essentially 19,200 inches long, or 1,600 feet long, or I'm sorry, 1,600 meters long, or 6,400 feet in length, and 573 inches tall. Now I'm going to pause on this particular one to discuss that fish, that one, smaller than the one where I turned around and said, shut your mouth, go back down. In comparison, I could not take a picture of the tooth that was behind me because I would have had to back up and essentially have my back against the wall of the bottom of the Vandenberg to attempt to get a picture of part of the tooth. It would have literally been a picture that looked like I took a picture of a whiteboard up close. So, why that fish could listen, but then, you know, got cherubim running around on land, I don't understand that. Just gonna point that out. I do not understand how there are those cherubim ones who don't want to listen, but the fish that had teeth, and I only saw the one up close, that was wider than my arms by a lot and much taller. I didn't even get to see its gum line. Did not get to see that fish's gum line. Just gonna throw that out there. I do not understand how cherubim don't know how to listen and not bother me. Yet that fish listened. Don't know what's wrong with you cherubim retards who want to with my Medal of Honor art project. Don't understand that. Just saying. I know I'm a little weird. That's fine. I accept that. However, I genuinely do not understand how any cherubim one really thought it was a good idea to do what they did in reference to my Medal of Honor project. So, that being said, I will pick up back on that particular fish in the next video. Thank you.